go ahead and tune our tunes. Make sure we nice and elevated. Y'all listening to something I put together a little earlier. Yes, giving a good consulting to a great colleague and energy. When I sit down with people with music, I like to utilize music as another tool or vehicle to describe and express myself. You see, sometimes music can do things, at least for me, okay, that supersedes what my words can do, and sometimes even what my body can do. Okay, it's because I respect sound, right? I respect music, and I also respect people, right? Enough to know that we all learn different ways and we also express ourselves different ways. All of us don't learn from opening books and reading. All of us don't learn just by seeing an example and being able to repeat what we saw or what we read. We learn different ways, okay? I've learned not to force people to learn my way. Rather, it'd be easier for me to learn their way, right? And then make the learning process easy. So yes, this is the result of this lovely conversation on this Mindset Monday. Yeah, I almost stepped into Tuesday a little earlier than I was supposed to. I say, okay, we're gonna be speaking about the dragons, right? Let's transform. As I was writing tonight's lessons, I was thinking, what are all the transformation, right, signs, and what has life been showing us and what we've been seeing in the media, inside, outside, and in the universe above. What have we been seeing? What if our business has been showing us? What has our own passions been showing us? Our interest, right? Our energy, our time, as it relates to transformation, right? And then I sat and re-looked at the schedule and seen, no, let me be reminded it's Mindset Monday. And I thought, what a beautiful way to go into Mindset Monday, right? To illuminate all of what has already happened, right? Because we already done spent a day already into this week. Yes, we know that Monday is the beginning of the work week, but Sunday indeed is the beginning of the week. Yes, the week began in sun, and why not, right? Set our minds already on to the next level. Yes, I know a lot of times we speak, from different places we may be, right? From one level or from the transition in between that I call the shift, or we speaking from that next level and trying to get our feet comfortable in that next level before the next shift and the next transition, right? I want us to set our mind on to the next level, on to the next version of ourselves already, right? It'd be easier to become the energy, right? And to attract what you are already asking for when you are the energy, okay? I know some people may have a fake it till you make it type of philosophy on this certain perspective, but this isn't a fake it till you make it. You don't have to fake anything, okay? Especially if you're already going to become what you set out to become, then there is no faking it. Yes. So I want to tell us a story. Yeah, one of the dragons. Yep. Have you heard the story of the dragons? Yeah. I'm gonna let us ride to these tunes, right? As you begin to think about all the different versions, all the different stories of dragons you may have heard in the past, you may have read in books, right? You may have heard rumors. I want you to recall all the stories you've ever heard on dragons, okay? And tonight, I'm gonna lay it all out. Is it true? Is it not true? Are dragons real? Are they something we need to be afraid of? Right? What does it mean? How does it relate to religion? How does it relate to spirituality? Yes, is there science backing this? We're going to go into all the different aspects of the dragon philosophy, of the dragon story, of the dragon folklore, okay? And of the dragon history. Yes. I like that this music gave us a good platform to transform. I love that music as a frequency, as an energy, gives me a good platform to do what I love to do. Yeah. This feels very ancient for me. This feels very nostalgic, right? This is why it was my purpose to already put this in a platform in a nice packaged way for you to understand, right? Me better and yourself better. But it was my job to make sure you understand my creativity and all the things that make me me, okay? The music is a part of it. Okay. What I'm going to lay out for us about the dragons is also a part of it. Yes. A part of you and a part of me. Believe it or not, we are indeed a part of this dragon story. See, the way the dragon story works, you are indeed a part of it. Yeah. And when you're a part of the dragon story, you are either the main character or the supporting main character, or destined to be the main character. Okay? But it's only one of the three. It's main character energy. So let's get into it. So we all know about the dragons. We all heard the tales that told us stories of flying reptile-like creatures that blew fire out of their mouths. Yes, the dragon was said to be able to blow fire out of its mouth. It was sort of dinosaur-like, but giving more credit to a reptile-like structure. And this particular creature was able to fly, okay? At certain points in time, in certain different areas of the world, mankind warred with dragon and then spawned dragon slayers. Also, more stories. We know more than a few stories of the dragon slayers. In fact, there are a few events, right, that speak on the extinction of dragons, and a lot of them had to do with dragon slayers. There are even a lot of AI-generated movies and cartoons that tell the same story of the dragon slayer, of the dragon, being in different forms, right? So as far as we know, this is folklore. This is just stories our ancestors passed on to our elders that we still tell to our children and our offspring today. The story of the dragons. We think it's cute, right? And it is. A nice, fun piece of fantasy we get to carry with us as adults. Dragons fit everyone. No matter if you're still in the sandbox, a diaper, right? Or if you run a Fortune 500 company, dragons are alluring to everyone, right? So what is it known about dragons to the public, right? Something you will have to research about dragons. Well, dragons aren't just one way. Dragons are indeed shapeshifters. Yes, dragons are shapeshifters. Dragons shift shapes. They do this for many reasons. The main reason they do it is indeed what has led to their extinction and what defines them as a dragon. I'll get to that as we go forward. But dragons are shapeshifters. They can shift shapes, okay? I'll give a few examples of the shapes of the dragon. The man-child or the baby is a dragon. The man or the woman is a dragon. The rabbit, we ever hear of the lucky rabbit's foot? This is also a dragon. The mermaid is also a dragon. The centaur is also a dragon. The phoenix is also a dragon. Okay? So as you can see, dragons come many different shapes and many different sizes. Okay? So now, as we get on the shape-shifting nature of the dragon, let's get on to why the dragon shape shifts. First, we're going to have to mention another form of the dragon that makes the most sense, which is the serpent. The serpent can also, right, take form of the snake. This is why in certain cultures, these two words are used synonymously, serpent and snake, but they are not the same thing. One is a man and one is an animal. Both of them are symbolic representations of the dragon. As I mentioned, the man and the man-child is indeed a dragon, right? A shape of the dragon. One of those shapes, okay, is the serpent. Yes. And leaving the snake as a representation, right? Anthropomorphic representation of this particular energy. Serpent energy does the snake represent. Dragon energy does the serpent represent. Why is this? Because the serpent, right, is a shapeshifter as well. But the serpent shapeshift, right, into cunning ways to more or less get the advantage to its own benefit. Okay? This is why it's frowned upon to be the snake or the serpent. Because we understand that a person, right, has shifted themselves into their own benefit, which may not always be to the benefit of others. Okay? This is when you get the level of a snake, when it's not the benefit of others. But a true serpent, right, that operates in dragon energy, will only be doing things for the benefit not only of others, but also themselves and the universe. That completes the universe. Okay? So, these are the shapes of the dragon. Now let's get to the nature of the shape shifting. Why do dragons shape shift? Okay? Dragon shape shift because they have a certain value on the planet. Then its value is known by those that know about this dragon, right? But all the time, this isn't known by the dragon. The dragon has to take time to learn of its own nature, as all things do, right? But because the dragon has lived different shapes, right? Sometimes this can take the dragon a little longer. which would also require some assistance, right? Nevertheless, the dragon shifts shapes to hide its nature and also to represent which level of ascension that it is on along the way to its final form. Okay? So, different shapes of the dragon, from the baby to the centaur to the mermaid, okay? These anthropomorphic representations, okay, of emotional upheavals this individual or entity had to oversee, mental adversities, triumphs this person had to see as well as physical, that caused it to morph and evolve into a beautiful creature. Yes, beautiful creature that's as rare as the diamonds. Okay? So, the dragon begins to understand as it morphs, as it changes, as it evolves to in life. It begins to understand that this change or this discomfort that causes change is to my benefit. It doesn't always understand this at the beginning. This takes time for the dragon to cultivate this understanding. Right? As it learns this and being guided and taught from different energies in life and protected from different energies in life, they understand also, right, the purpose of this dragon. Right? It begins to also understand that it has to protect itself. Yes, the dragon begins to protect itself. It begins to walk, right, in a certain confidence, one that protects it, one that becomes a hedge, right, to its own spirit. It begins to protect itself. And as it begins to learn life, accept change, accept evolution, right, the dragon grows guarded. Yes, it grows guarded. Because as a dragon, life is leaving the dragon with certain things that the world would do the utmost for. Yes, the dragon is left with gold. We all heard the stories of the gold that the dragons sleep around. This gold that the dragon is protecting, this gold that even become a home for the dragon, is somehow even a cave for the dragon. We've all heard of every blessing is a cursing in disguise, for the lack of better terms. Right? Every gift is a curse. So what does the gold represent? The gold represent the wisdom, the power, and the brilliance that makes this dragon different from all other species that it encounters. Yes. And the reason why its nature, its skin, its outside appearance has become reptile-like, because this dragon, male or female, right, has begun to understand that I must have a thick skin. And what it means by thick skin is that it's not only armoring itself, protecting itself, preparing itself, but it's also trying to find the right skin that will protect it as well. Okay? The dragon learns on this process, right, the nature of nakedness. Yes, the dragon learns nakedness. Before the dragon reaches nakedness, it goes to triumphs, of course, adversities, aiming to protect its own spirit from said dragon slayers. Yes, these are those set out to do away with the flame. What does the flame represent that the dragon holds? The flame represents truth. The flame represents righteousness. The flame, okay, represents the sun that gives life. The flame represents energy. The flame represents love. The flame represents creation. That's why dragons also represent creation, i.e., in the Asian culture, the Chinese culture to be specific. Okay? Dragons are a big part of creation story because of the flame, representing of the sun. Okay? Also tying its way into religion. Okay? Or the stories of theism. Right? So nevertheless, to answer our question, are dragons real? Are they? Now, after hearing all of this information, we would have to come to only one obvious conclusion is yes. Dragons will have to be real. Dragons will have to be the person that finds this video. Dragons will have to be the person that knows this story, that understands this walk, that understands evolution, that understands graduation, that understands developing a thick skin or a thick spirit. The dragon will understand solidarity versus loneliness, or being alone versus solidarity. The dragon will understand truth and the burden thereof. The dragon will understand. Okay? So that's the stories of the dragon. I want us to take some time out to consume, okay, our own inner dragon. Because we all indeed have our inner dragon. In fact, indeed, we are all dragons, or at the least have that potential. That's my perspective, and I'm sticking to it. Nevertheless, until next time, let's get rich.